Business news from the Capital Region. This is Washington Business Report with ABC7 national correspondent Rebecca Cooper.
Thanks for joining us for a fresh look at business and finance here in the Washington region. This week it was the battle over net neutrality. Was it a win for proponents of paying more to get in the fast lane? Plus the debate over climate change heats up. And a woman at the top gets fired. Was it because of her gender? We'll have those topics coming up in the roundtable, plus a small business spotlight on getting along in the workplace. But first, we go one-on-one with an industry legend. Friday marked Barbara Walters' last day on daily television after more than 50 years breaking down barriers and making news. In 1976, Walters became the first woman to co-anchor the evening news, even as Harry Reasoner made it clear he didn't want a woman by his side. Still, Walters persevered and became an industry icon. We sat down with her on the set of The View to learn from this legend what it takes to succeed in any business and why now is the time to retire. So, Barbara Walters, Michael Jordan changed his mind about retirement. Your bosses at ABC News would be thrilled if you changed your mind about retirement. Any thinking about, you know what, maybe one more year?
I don't know what one more year would give me. An interview with the Pope, I'd stay, but I don't think that's going to happen. This is when I decided to leave. No one pushed me. No one was, yapping or yipping at my heels. It's just felt like the right time. And there isn't that much more that I really wanted to do.
Reading your autobiography, which is such a good and revealing book, people have always wondered why you work so hard. That book reveals a lot about why, even to this day, you still feel the need to work hard. You were always worried about your family, always worried about taking care of people.
My father was in show business and at the time was very famous. He ran nightclubs, the most important nightclub in New York at the time. But show business is precarious, and I was always afraid he would lose it all, and he did. And so in my 20s, I was supporting my family. And my sister, who was 3.5 years older, was what we would call mentally disabled, I guess. When I was young, they called her retarded or slow. So I always felt that I had to support her financially and emotionally. So it gave me, I got to do it, and that hasn't, it's sort of gone away. That's why I'm able to leave, but it lasted for many years.
The other thing that's remarkable in looking at your career, Barbara, because I have worked with you behind the scenes and I know so many people who have worked very closely with you, you have a lot of people who have been with you both in your personal home life and on your staff for decades. Yeah, what is it about that relationship that you're able to build those bonds for so long?
I feel very close to them. I mean, my hairstylist, Brian, my makeup artist, Laurie, we've been together for years. We walked to work together through Central Park. Bill Getty and I have been together for 25 years. That's a lovely feeling, and they will go on without me because they're very talented. But I will miss them. These are the relationships among them that I will really miss.
So I have to ask you some Barbara Walters-like questions.
Oh, dear.
You've been asked some of these before, but of all the different presidents, we watch you so closely in Washington, and you've interviewed so many and gotten to know so many.
Does it bother you today when people say Ronald Reagan is the president of the rich? How important is it for the president to be a role model? Was it worth it if there were no weapons of mass destruction? Why are you so unpopular?
Which one did you find the most fascinating? Who did you find to be a riddle that you liked unlocking that riddle?
Oh my goodness. Since probably the most complicated was Richard Nixon, who wanted so much to be liked. Before you sat down for an interview, he would tell jokes to the cameraman, trying to warm everybody up because he himself could not do it. So I found him, the complication was what was so interesting about him. I've interviewed Barack Obama 5 times. He's a pleasure to interview. and so is his wife. He's a pleasure to interview because when you get away from the political questions, he's quite funny, although Michelle says she's funnier. So, I mean, it's always a privilege to interview a president, and to have been able to interview every one of them, you know, I couldn't be more grateful. I will miss that, you know. If Hillary Clinton is president, that would be nice to have interviewed her, or whoever the person might be. And there are, you know, I will miss not being part of the daily dialogue. But
I have a feeling you still will be, but I have to say, so for busy working moms, you have really stood out. You've done so much, and you and your daughter have both been so honest. She said it was tough. She said it wasn't tough being adopted. It was tough being the daughter of a famous woman, and yet both you and your daughter, who's a remarkable woman, have used that as a force for good to help others. What do you think when you look at your daughter and you look at all that she's accomplished in helping other young girls? She now mentors troubled teens. You're going to miss some of the ability to speak out on those kinds of things? Well,
the thing that's interesting about my daughter is that she loves being my daughter, I hope, but she does not like being the daughter of a famous person. She, if anything, she wants to be anonymous, which is why you will see very few pictures of her. But, and my daughter is adopted, as we talked about, and that has given me an understanding that I might not have had, and the fact that I have her in my life, and I wasn't very good at marriage, but the fact that I have Jackie, it's just wonderful. It gives me pleasure every day, except when she's impossible, and I'm right and she's wrong. Right?
Like all mothers. Everyone wants to know what you're going to do next. You say you're going to travel. You have spent a life traveling, but it's like a White House correspondent. Get on the plane, get off the plane. You don't get to spend any time. Is there like a top 3, top 5 Barbara Walters hit list that everyone should be looking on the beach?
Number 1, I'm going to sleep late. Number 2, I'm going to sleep very late. Number 3, I'm going to sleep all day. Okay.
And just finally, Barbara, advice to everyone who is starting out. You were a young woman full of insecurities, and look at all that you've conquered. You've conquered the world. What's your advice to people about starting from that first moment to then here you are?
Get your foot in the door. If it's something you love to do, do it no matter what the salary and no matter what the beginning position is, because that's where you will succeed. And number 3, do your homework.
Barbara Walters, you know you're very beloved in Washington. We're hoping you'll be spending lots of time there.
That's very kind of you.
And I have a feeling the Pope may be calling to say he's ready to do that interview.
As I say, from your lips, but I doubt that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara Walters, and congratulations. Coming up, are you easy to get along with at work? Are you sure? When we return, how knowing yourself and knowing others can translate into a more peaceful and profitable workplace. Stay tuned.